and happy story time Saturday. I hope you all are doing well, safe at home. I'm so excited to be here and reading another book to you all. We're going to read a book this week called Jesus and the Lion's Den. Now, this story comes from the book of Daniel, which is in the Old Testament, and you might be familiar with the story of Daniel and the Lion's Den. But did you know that Jesus was there too? Now, the Old Testament books were written long before Jesus was born, but as we know, the whole Bible is about Jesus and God's plan for us to send his son to live on earth, to die for our sins, and to rise to life again so that we can be one with God. Now, God gives his people lots of clues about how this would happen. And when we read the Old Testament and some of these stories we're familiar with, we can look out for what we call those Jesus moments. Now, Jesus moments are the part of the story that help us remember how we can be a little bit like Jesus. And we're going to see that in our book today called Jesus in the Lion's Den, which comes from the book of Daniel in our Bible. So we will just jump right in. So this is a true story about how Daniel points us to Jesus. Now, did you know the old stories in the Bible are a bit like a puzzle? If you look carefully, you can spot Jesus moments. These are moments when the story, or when someone in the story, acts a bit like Jesus. This book is about the really exciting story of Daniel. But what makes the story even more exciting is that Jesus is in it too. There are a lot of lions in the story, but every time you see this special lion here, can you see the special lion? The special lion is a clue about Jesus, and that there's a Jesus moment too. Are you ready for the story? Let's begin. Now, do you have any habits? What's a habit? It's something you do often and regularly, like maybe you sing in the bath, maybe you twiddle your thumbs, or stick your fingers up your nose, yuck! This is a story about Daniel and his habit. Now, it was a great habit, but it was a habit that got him in a lot of trouble. Any guesses on what that habit is? Now, Daniel knew God was the real king, and over everyone and everywhere. Daniel loved God so very much. So 3 times a day, Daniel knelt down by the window and he prayed to God. Prayer is like talking to God. We can talk to him anywhere, anytime, about anything. What a wonderful habit. Now, how could a prayer habit get anyone into any trouble? Well, Daniel worked for Darius. Darius was a super powerful king over the country of Babylon. Daniel was so good at his job that King Darius wanted him to run the whole kingdom. But the other people who worked for King Darius, they didn't like Daniel. They didn't like the God he prayed to. So they decided to get Daniel into trouble with the king. There was just one problem with their plan. Daniel had done nothing wrong. Nothing at all. But they thought of something. They could use Daniel's habit, his prayer, to get him into trouble. Daniel's enemies got King Darius to make a new law. It said for every 30 days, no one was allowed to pray to anyone except the king. Is it right to pray to anyone besides God? No. And if anyone broke this law, they would be thrown into a den full of hungry lions. Oh no! Can you imagine if that was a law now? What would Daniel do? If he obeyed the king of Babylon, he would stay safe. But if he obeyed God, the real king, he would get into trouble. And he kept praying. And that meant Daniel would be fed to the lions? Safety or lion food, which would Daniel choose? Daniel's enemy crept up into his house and looked into the window and saw that Daniel was praying. It worked. They caught him. The plan had worked. They rushed back and told the king. Daniel was about to become lion food. King Darius tried and tried all day to find a way to save Daniel, but he couldn't. Even the king wasn't able to change the law that he had made. So the sun went down. Daniel was taken to the den of the hungry, hungry lions and thrown in. "I hope your God can save you," said the king. "Roar!" said the lions. A big stone was rolled away at the mouth of the den, and everyone went to bed. But the king couldn't sleep. He tossed and he turned and he tossed all night long, thinking about Daniel. In the morning, he rushed down to the den. "Daniel, has your God been able to save you from the lions?" asked the king. And then he listened. What do you think happened? A voice came from the den. "Yes, O king, I am not hurt. God sent his angels to shut the lion's mouth. God saved me because of what I had done. I had done nothing wrong." Nothing. Daniel was lifted out of the den, and there wasn't even a scratch on him. Daniel had trusted God, and God had saved him. Then, because King Darius was such an important king, Darius wrote to all the people in the countries in all the world and said, "Daniel's God is the living God. He is the real king of everyone and everywhere. Now and forever, he saves his people." Isn't that the truth? The end. Oh, wait, no, not the end. It's not the end at all. It's time to spot those Jesus moments. Look back at the pictures in the book. There were lots of lions in the story, but did you spot the special lion? He appears every time there's a Jesus moment in the story. Each Jesus moment is a moment when Daniel is a lot like Jesus, the Son of God. Did you find all of them? This is what they mean. Daniel's enemy wanted to get rid of him, so they tried to get him in trouble. That's what Jesus' enemies did to him too. But in his job, Daniel had done nothing wrong. Nothing. So his enemies had to invent a new law to get Daniel in trouble. In his whole life, Jesus did nothing wrong. Nothing. So his enemies had to tell lies about Jesus to get him into trouble too. When Daniel heard about his enemies' plans, he knew he was going to be arrested and thrown to the lions. So what did he do? Daniel prayed. When Jesus knew he was going to be arrested and crucified on the cross, what did he do? He prayed. Did Daniel die in the lion's den? No. The lions were very hungry, and Daniel was as good as lion food. But God, the real king of everyone and everywhere, brought Daniel out of the den. Did Jesus die on the cross? Yes. Yes? Yes. Jesus really was dead, but God brought his son out of death. And do you know something amazing? God promises to bring all of his son's friends, all of us, out of death and into life with him. Can he really do that? We know he can. He's done it before. So one day, all of Jesus' friends will live with him forever and ever. And for now, we can enjoy the same habit as Daniel. What is that? Prayer. We can talk to the real king of everyone and everywhere, every day. What a great story. I really enjoyed that one, and I hope you guys did too. It's helpful to keep looking out for those little Jesus moments, the ways that we and the people in the stories we read remind us and point back to the true King. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday and your weekend. We'll see you again next week.